Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm really happy to be here today. That will be the first time I do this talk in English. So obviously, like every first time, it won't be perfect, but I'll do my best. The important thing is that if at the end of the session you don't know how to do micro-frontend using Module Federation, you can come here, ask your question in French. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. English is fine. Don't use Flemish, please, because I won't understand anything. You can get the slide with the QR code. All slides aren't perfect rendering in the mobile size, but you still have the slides. All right, so who am I? My name is Sylvain Dedieu. I work in a Kaizen solution in Grenoble. Kaizen solution is a IT services company. And if you like to ski during the winter or just mountain hiking in the French Alps, maybe you know my hometown. I'm a senior front-end developer, and my center of interest are based on every framework or tools that made possible to make beautiful UI in the web or in the mobile environment. Here is my social. You can add me. I will be pleased to exchange with you in the next future. And that's it for me. Now I will present you the man, Manfred. We don't have the same resume. Microsoft gave him 8 times the MVP award. He's a Google developer expert in Angular. Definitely find him in the social. He's a really good teacher, really nice to follow him. And go check his work. Because the talk I will present you today is based on his work. Like 90% of the work I made use his work. And if you are lucky enough or you are looking for an Angular training, an advanced Angular training, go to Angular Architect. I did one last year. It was just amazing. So I invite you to do that. All right, so to speak about micro-frontends, we have to talk about the monolithic architecture. So there is a schema of a monolithic architecture. We have a monolithic front-end application, a monolithic back-end application, and the database. We can duplicate the monolith. So if a server goes down, we don't have an interruption of service. But basically, this is all monolith. And I want to say this architecture is fine. Don't do microservices to do microservices, okay? Don't be a hipster or something like that. This works in 99% of the time. When you want to go to microservices or micro-frontend, is because you need to do that. So for example, let's imagine that I have one feature in my application that starts to scale really quickly, but only that one. With this kind of architecture, I will have to scale the whole app. That can be expensive. And if I have a microservices approach, maybe I can only scale the only part that needs to be scaled. All right. So how to split the monolith into microservices? That's something you're probably familiar with. We use tools like domain-driven design to know how to split correctly and make the feature independent. So let's say in the left block vertical part, it's the authentication domain. In the middle, it's the product catalog feature, and on the right, the payment process, for example. If you arrive to make them independent, you can go doing your first microservices. And I spoke about domain-driven design. If you want to learn more about that, I recommend 2 books. There is a ton of books talking about domain-driven design, but the first one, the blue one on the background, is the one which started it all, from Eric Evans, made in 2003, I think. But it's still really accurate. Of course, there is the more recent version of that book, but this one, I think it's good to have it at home. And the book in front of it, it's Enterprise Angular. It's made by Manfred Steyer, and it's a really good ebook. And if you follow Manfred on the social, you can get it for free. And it combined the monorepo approach with the domain-driven design and the micro-frontends. And here is the schema extracted from the ebook, where you have an example on how you can split a front-end using the domain-driven design approach. All right, so we successfully split our backend into microservices. So for each feature in the backend, we can have a team dedicated to it. For example, the authentication, we have the authentication team. But the front end is still a big monolith. And the idea behind the microservice approach is that you have dedicated team to a feature, a whole feature. And why not make it full stack? Like I have the product catalog team, and in there I will find the backend developer and the front-end developer. So that's what we want to do today. So that's micro-frontend. And if you want to learn more about the all ways, all possibility to do micro-frontend in 2022, I recommend this book made from Luca Mezzalira. That's a must-have. Truly, if you want to do micro-frontend, you have to get that one. And there is some principle around that. It's the culture of automation. If you do microservices or micro-frontend, you have to have a strong CI/CD. Hide the implementation details. This is important. We want that the implementation detail of the product catalog project is only known by the product catalog developer. We don't need the authentication team to be aware of the details. And that goes with decentralized governance. We don't want a guru, some architect that decide for every team how they should work, what they should do, and struggle them. We want to decentralize the governance so every team can do what they want to do. We can deploy independently. We isolate failure. You need a highly observable system. If you have to put money on something, don't try to do the best product without any failure. You want success. But put money on how to see quickly where is your bug and how to correct it. And it's modeled around business model. So your company structure should also match this model. All right, so what will be our challenge today? Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. We will have a fake snow-wearing shop, because I come from the French Alps and we love skiing. And this app is a shell. It's the home application running on the port 4200. And you will find all the UI you will use to navigate through the app. On the port 01, I have an application also made in Angular 12, for example, for this case. And you will find the product in cell. There is another level of routing in this application. There is a third one for cross-country skiing, also with a second level of routing made in Vue. Same for React for the downhill skiing, and in AngularJS for the snowboard. And what we want to do is to navigate through the shell app and having this part filled by the different other application I showed you according to the route. That, for example, if I click here, right now it's not working, but I want to go to the cell app and having the cell app appear right there. And I don't want to use iframes. I really want to have the single page application principle with the shared, the same window object, and etc. So back in the slide. So this is a vertical split because from each URL, I will find a different page with a different micro-Frontend application. You can also have a horizontal split that you want. I won't show it in the demo, but in this case, in the same page, you can have the left part of the page made by one micro-Frontend and the right part made of another micro-Frontend. For example, imagine a website where on the right you have the payment form, and in every page you can fill your payment form. For example, maybe that would be a good example of a horizontal split. And if you want to learn more about horizontal splits, and if you speak French, you can go to the Devox FR YouTube channel and watch Hugo Chiaventuro talk. He performed one based on horizontal splits with Module Federation. All right, so now I will make some shortcuts and be really abstractive to present you the main principle, the key principle behind the Module Federation. So there is my HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And with that, I can make a component. I know we can make a component only with JavaScript, but the main idea is that with those three I will make a component. So I can have several components, and all that component together can form a module. And if you think about that, a whole application can be seen as a module, and that's what I want you to know, to keep in mind. And Webpack is a module bundler, so it will take your files and it will bundle them into static assets. But basically, it will take your module and make chunk from it, and with several chunks, it will form the bundle. So if applications are modules, and with several modules, we can form the bundle, you cannot touch the approach about micro-Frontend. And where the Module Federation plugin comes really make this possible is that you can load some chunk from some remote server, not only on your server, but you can fetch some chunks from other server. And that gives you the opportunity to do micro-Frontend. how we can do that? We can do that by Webpack configuration. I know that can be tricky, but the module federation plugin part is really simple. You will have the remote case where your micro-frontend want to be loaded by a shell. And you will have the host context where you are in the shell and you want to load and to fetch remote micro-frontends. When to use it? If you want to share a state and have a command router through your app, if your app isn't a legacy app, and if you don't need strong isolation, like different window or something like that. If you want to have separated deployment, and maybe you don't have to use that, but if you want to have different frameworks, there it is. You can use module federation. If you don't, you have several different options, but that's the way where you will use module federation. All right, so let's go for the demo. So I will open my IDE. Maybe I have to zoom a little bit. Where is it? Isn't it in view? All right. Is it okay for you? Yeah? So I will stop my shell server and I will stop my cell server. And in the cell project, I will install a dependency named Angular Architect Module Federation that will help me to go quicker. I could do this by hand, but that will take some time. So I install it, and I do the same on the shell project. All right. I use the default name of the project. The port to use for the cell project is 4201. And for the shell project, I will keep the default name, and the port is 4200. All right, so what did it do? I have my AngularJSON file that changed. It changed by changing the Angular dev kit build Angular into the NGX build plus builder. So we can extend the Webpack config, the default Webpack config of Angular, using the one we want to add. It also changed the package the JSON file by hiding the new dependency. And it created the two configuration files, one for the production and one for the development. But the one for production only imports the default config. And the Webpack config extends the default config from Angular. And there is this part that will interest us, the module federation plugin part that we will use. And it also moved the content of the main TS file into the Bootstrap TS file, so the NGX Plus plugin could use it. So what I want to do now is to go to my cell application and create a remote from this Micro-Frontend application. So I will just uncomment those lines. I need the name of the Micro-Frontend, that will be cell. The Webpack file name which it exposes, it will be remote entry.js. We will learn about that a little bit later. I can expose more than one file, but I will only need here to expose the cell modules, which contain the module you saw in the application. And I will export it under the path module. So I will rerun my cell application. And now let's dive into the shell app, where I will need to fetch the module I exposed. So I will uncomment those line. And I have to name the remote, so I will use the same name. Here, I have to put the name that I put it here. So it's also cell. It's exposed on the port 4201, and the Webpack file is the remote entry.js, because that's how I name it here. If I go to the cell project and I refresh it, I can see the remote entry.js file exposed. So that's a good sign that I succeed to do what I wanted. And in the shell application now, I have to create a new route to get to the cell application. So it's a little bit of Angular development. So the path will be sales, and I will load a module like you will do in the regular local loading module. So I will import sales/module, and then arrow up and cell module. All right. So TypeScript complain because he don't know that one. So I will create just a file to declare that module. All right. Declare module. Typo. Declare module, cell module, and that's okay. For TypeScript, is now okay, and I have to check that I didn't forget anything. To me, that's cool. I will rerun the shell app, and if the demo works, we should be okay for the first part of the demo. Let's see. It took time to build. Maybe if we succeed that, you can upload, maybe. Let's see. Right click. No, what's happening? I have to refresh the page, I think. All right. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, but what I promise you is to have a different framework, and what I did is that I used Angular Micro-Frontend into a shell built also in Angular 12. So the promise isn't complete. So now we will talk about the other micro-frontends which are built in Vue, React, and AngularJS. Let's start with Vue. So how can I manage to make Angular understand that the module is in Vue? How can I manage to the Angular router to put something in Vue that won't work? So the thing is, I will wrap my Vue application into a native web component, and I will inject the web component into Angular. I have my Vue project. There is already the Webpack config file. And in the Module Federation plugin, I expose a micro-frontend named CrossCountry. The file is a remote entry.js file, and under the path/module, you will have the src index.js file. And in that file, you import the main.js file. And in the main.js file, you will find what you always find in the Vue project. So I have to wrap that line into a web component. So I will export a class named Micro-Frontend, for example, that extends the HTML element. In there, I will use the connected callback method because that one will be triggered when the HTML element is mounted into the DOM. If I use a basic constructor, it will be executed too soon. And I can custom element.define. I will put the name CrossCountry web component, and I give the class I created. All right. So if I take that and I use it inside the public HTML file, it should stay like it was, but that would be a good sign. It took time to run. What we can see during the build is that we have to there is no magic. We have to share the Vue library and also Axios because I didn't mention it, but the product you see are fetched from a backend. It's not hard encoded data. So you have to give the shell Axios too. If I hit refresh, my application is still working, and on the remote entry path, I will also find the Webpack file that explains what's exposed. All right. So I'm okay with the CrossCountry project. Now I have to work on the shell. So I have to add another remote, which is CrossCountry. And the port is 02. All right. And now in my app routing module file, I cannot do the same because that's not an Angular module. So I have to do something a little bit more complicated, but also really simple. I will use a component named the wrapper component, and we will see what's in there. It's a basic Angular component with a div. And what it will do is on the ng after content init hook, it will load the remote web component that include the micro-Frontend application of CrossCountry, and it will create an element and append it to the div. So we are front-end developer, we put div inside divs. And that's what we want to do here. And we have to give him an object as data. He wanted two data. First, the element name and the load children. So the element name I defined was CrossCountry web component. And the load children, right, is the function that imports the path CrossCountry/module. I will also have to add the line for TypeScript in this file, the declaration file, CrossCountry. So TypeScript is okay.
Change the path here.
Yeah, good one. Thank you. I think in all the time I did this presentation, there were always a typo or something like this. So I will rerun the shell app, and we should be okay. For the React part and the AngularJS part, I will be quicker because it's the same principle. and we will see if we have time left. We will see how to exchange data between the different micro front-end. All right, so I have to go to my shell, and if I click here, all right, it's working. Thank you. I will do the downhill and the snowboard in the same time to be quicker. So if I go to the downhill, and I think it's the main.js file, I also have to export a class mfe that extends the HTML element. I use the connected callback method. All right, and in there I create my React application on this, and I create my custom element define that will be downhill web component mfe. All right, that's for React. And if I go to the snowboard part, on the app.js file, I will have to cheat a little bit because it's AngularJS. It's more complicated. It's that part that I need. Well, I will take everything. So it's the same. We will use the same class name, but yeah, we create an element. We happen on this, and we bootstrap the AngularJS application under this element. But it's the same. We also wrap the application into a native web component. All right, so I will start again those two. And now let's go back to the shell part, which I have to add the two other remotes. The first one is downhill. It runs on the port of 3, and snowboard on the port of 4. All right. And about the routing module, it's exactly the same as for the Vue application. So downhill, it's the downhill web component, under the name downhill/module, and snowboard, and snowboard. And TypeScript is still angry. So downhill and snowboard. All right. I have to start my shell again. And what's cool is that I have to rerun my shell, but only because I changed something in the Webpack config. When my remote is fetched from the shell, I don't have to rerun it again each time I change something in the remote application. I can give you an example. First, we will see that. If I succeed to do what I promised, so the downhill seems fine. And about the snowboard, even in AngularJS that works, so that's awesome. And yeah, what I said is that if I want to change something in the remote application, like in the shell, I will change something. You can notice like maybe the name of the title. So I will add an other S. It would be a typo, but if I run refresh, I have the S added. So I don't have to run again my shell server. Okay, that's fine. Now we have to discuss a bit about the bundle size, because you can see that we successfully managed to add a lot of different framework into the same web application. But there is no magic, and the bundle size will be really, really big. And you can use that technique maybe with 2 different frameworks, but definitely not with 4. And when you will use that is maybe when you want to change from a certain technology to another. Instead of moving the whole app, if you have split it into micro-frontend, you can move it partially. But the important thing, and what is really cool about Module Federation, is that you can share some library, and you can share them as the same instance. So, for example, in my shell application and the cell microservices, the Angular core, the Angular command, the Angular router it's the same instance. I don't have to get 2 compiler, 2 Angular compiler or 2 Angular core. It's the same instance. And to prove that, I made a library that both projects has into dependency, named snowshoplib. And snowshoplib is basically a project with 1 services, Angular services, that keeps a variable of the cart item count. So each time I click on this button, it will increment the value by 1 in the service. And there is a listener with on the little cart icon that will put a notification with the number of item added on the cart. And right now, as I don't share the command library in the Webpack config file, it won't work. I mean, if I click on there, you cannot see the one added to the cart, because that's not the same instance. But if I add it as a command, where am I? No, I'm in the wrong project. If I take that line and I add it there, didn't copy it, right? So here, and I use that syntax, so I make it a singleton, and I have to also add this line on the Webpack config file. So I changed the Webpack config, so I have to rerun those both projects. But it should work, because from now it's now the same instance that is shared, and you should see the little one notification added to the cart icon. All right, that's okay for the shell. And for the cell, it's okay for the shell right now. So maybe I have to press refresh. And now if I hit command, that works. Thank you. I forgot to talk about something. I cheated a little bit because I have a bug in my app. If I go to CrossCountry and I go to the second level of routing, and here if I refresh my page, I have an error because the Angular router doesn't know about the second level because it's a view. I am under the view routing, so it doesn't work. I have the error that the segment isn't known by Angular. So what I have to use in my shell app is to not to use the path, but a matcher that will perform a function, and I will make a function that match every segment that starts with CrossCountry. And if I do that, and I go to CrossCountry here, and I hit refresh, I don't have the error anymore because the router is now known by Angular. For the cell application, Angular is smart enough to detect that it's an Angular router, and it works by default. I don't have to put a matcher with that one. All right. So what we can do now is that we can switch to, because we have some time left, we can switch to Angular 14 because something changed between those two versions. So I will undo that. That was the shell and the cell product discard. I will change my current branch, so it's next. Same for the shell, next. All right, I will have to run npm CI. Same for the shell, npm CI, because now the shell should be in the package.json. It should be in Angular 14, and same for the cell application. If I go there, yeah, I'm in Angular 14. So yeah, I have to rerun the shop shell and the cell. All right, and what's new in there is that Webpack config now use the ES6 approach, and nothing changed for the cell, but for the shell, there is the fact that the module exposed can be a library or a module, and for the cell, I didn't precise anything, so it's a module by default. But for the CrossCountry and all the other micro-frontend, it's a library. And to fetch that with the shell, I have to add something. I have to make a new promise, and I will mount the script. And I will inject it into the window. So I have to perform that because the import way of doing things changed between Angular 12 and Angular 14. But if I do that, I can still make this work. So I still have my micro-frontend working. And it's the same with the shell, with the cells, sorry. All right, so let's go back to the slides. So we saw Angular, we saw Vue, we saw React, we saw AngularJS. So that's the time for thanking you. And I want to thank a lot Manfred and Mike from Angular Architect, and also all the Kaizen team that helped me to to make those slides. And maybe if you're okay, I can do a selfie because I don't do every day a DevOps. So, cheers everyone. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I hope my level of English was okay.
Fine.
Thank you. You're kind.